We're in chapter verse 14, going through the rituals of the Kohen Gadol on Yom Kippur. Hey. V'lakach midam apar. So the Kohen, we're Leviticus chapter 16, verse 14, that he shall take from the blood of the bull, v'yizah be'etzba'o al pnei hakaporos, and he shall sprinkle with his finger on the pnei hakaporos, on the face of the kaporos, means on top of the kaporet, kema, on the eastern side, v'lefnei hakaporos yazeh sheva pamim, and in front of the kaporos he shall sprinkle it 7 times, min adam be'etzba'o, from the blood on his finger. So basically, he's supposed to take the blood of the bull, which he's brought as a sin offering, and sprinkle it 7 times on the Aron Kodesh, but not on the Aron directly, but on the kaporet. Rashi says, Hazah, when it says sprinkle, that implies achas b'mashma, that implies once. V'fnei kaporos yazeh sheva, so it means, all right, achas l'mala v'sheva mata. He does 1 up, and then 7 times he does the finger going down. One time he sprinkles it like this, and then 7 times sprinkling it like that on the ark from the blood of the bull. And now we're in chapter 16, verse 15. You have it, my friends?
Yeah.
I think I heard somebody else just come in now. Anyway, chapter 16, verse 15. Oh, Eitan's here. Amazing to see you, Rabbi Eitan. So, V'shachat, Leviticus 16, 15. V'shachat es sa'ir achatas asher la'am, and then he shall bring from the goat of the sin offering. You have it? You have the page?
I'm good.
Okay, good. And then after he slaughters the bull, he sprinkles its blood, he slaughters the goat of the sin offering, asher la'am. The bull is his own personal sin offering. And then there's the goat, which is the sin offering of the people. First, he has to atone for himself, and then he could start to atone for the people. The leader first has to look at their own mistakes, work on themselves, and then work on the mistakes of the people. Is everybody cold in here? I see people a little chilly. Should we put on the heat?
No.
Okay, fine. Sure, thank God, because I have to go walk 10 feet. So he shall slaughter for the goat of the sin offering that belongs to the people. And he brings the blood of the goat inside the Holy of Holies. He does it with the blood of the goat, just like he did with the blood of the bull. He shall sprinkle it exactly like he did, 1 time up, 7 times down. Rashi says, Asher la'am. V'shachat es-sa'ir achatas asher la'am. He shall sprinkle the goat, he shall slaughter the goat of the people. Rashi says, Ma shapar mechaper al kohanim, mechaper al sa'ir al Yisrael. That which the goat atones for the Kohanim, that which the people atone for the Kohanim, that which the bull atones for the Kohanim, the goat atones for Israel. So the bull he brought as a sin offering for the mistakes of his own household and the household of himself and the household of the people. And he also brought a sin offering on behalf of the Kohanim, and the goat is atoning for the sins of the people. And this is the goat that went up on it. They took 2 goats, and one of them had the lot for God, and the other one to Azazel. So this goat that he's being slaughtered, and we're taking its blood into the Holy of Holies, that was the goat that was on it. It had the lottery that said for Hashem. And this is the atoning for the sins of a person who comes into a place that is sacred. He comes in ritually impure. Most people today wouldn't even think that's a sin. I think that most people today, we have lost the sense of a sacred space. It's very hard to imagine what does it mean to have a sacred space. But that's if somebody came into that place, it would be ritually impure. Mount Sinai is no longer a sacred space. It was a sacred space, but it's lost its sanctity once God's presence departed from there. Like he did to the blood of the bull, 1 up and 7 down. So now he's done a total of 16 sprinklings on the ark. Verse 16. V'chiper al kodesh, and he atones on the kodesh. Mitumot b'nei Israel, he atones in the holy place from the tumot of the children of Israel, if they went there into the temple while they were tamei. And from their sins for all their accidental sins. And so too he should do for the Ol Moed. One who dwells with them in the midst of while they were tamei. Meaning to say, what are we atoning for here? Rashi says, this relates to somebody who enters into the temple in a state of ritual impurity. And they don't know about it. And they did not know about it. He shogeg. The chatas refers to an accidental sin. Refers to an accidental sin. So basically, if they themselves had known about it, they themselves would have to bring the sacrifice. But because they didn't know about it, Aaron's bringing the sacrifice on their behalf on Yom Kippur. You know, you would think of all the things that Aaron's going to bring a sacrifice about for the Jewish people, for their sins, we would have expected it to be a little bit more intense from our perspective, right?
It's only Ben-Adam Makom, Ben-Adam Chavara, you have to do the work yourself.
Yeah, maybe all the Jews who eat pork, all the Jews who do all sorts of sins, all the Jews who did all sorts of sins that we would imagine to be somewhat worse than simply walking into a place that you're not supposed to. But that just shows you the way our mindset is different. Umi Pishayim Rashi says, Af anechnasem meze betuma. It's also atoning for those who did it intentionally. V'chein yaseh ol moed, and so too shall be done for the main tent. Kishem sheizah mishneim b'fnim achas l'mara v'shev mata. Just like Aaron sprinkled the blood of the bull and of the goat in the Holy of Holies, 1 up and 7 down. So too, he would then take the blood. Somebody's phone is. It's not mine. And so too, he would take the blood and sprinkle 1 up and 7 down on the curtain outside. Mi shneim achas l'mala v'shev mata. So too, he would do on from both of them 1 up and 7 below. This is, by the way, so now we've done 4 sprinklings. We've done 4 sprinklings. Each one is 8 sprinkles. So we've done a total of 32 sprinkles. 2 inside the Holy of Holies on the kaporet, 2 outside the Holy of Holies on the curtain on the sanctuary side, not on the Holy of Holies side. And this is, on Yom Kippur, when you say achas v'achas, this is what we're counting. That's what we're counting. You ever wonder about that? That's what this is. Why do we have to say, by the way, this is, I heard of this word in a different context. Why do you have to say, when you take, when's the other time we have to count in the, when we're counting the Omer? Now, when's the other time we have to count in the Jewish law? When is there a time to count an animal? The animal.
3 years. No.
Yeah, well, there is true that you count.
No, I'm sorry.
No,
Trees.
yeah, but you count the Meiser Behema. when you have an animal, that's when you have your new animals that are born that year, you have to take them through an opening in a pen, and you pass them through. The first one you go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. And then the 10th one you say for God, La Hashem, and you mark it. And then you do the next ones. So Rav Pam asks, why do we have to do it like that? Why can't we just say the first one is for God and then do the next 9 for us? Why do we have to do it like that? Follow the question? So Rav Pam says it's to make us, because we're giving the 10th one to God. So we might be thinking, oh, we're giving so much to the temple. It's to make us aware of just how much we have for ourselves. This one is for me. 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 This one is for God. You have to be aware of like just how much you're taking for yourself. Yeah, Rabbi Yosef, you had a question.
It sounds counterintuitive to sprinkle blood of chatat on the parochet because anything that the blood of the chatat touches becomes tameh. Like if a Kohen sprinkles blood of chatat while he's shechting on his clothing, that clothing has to go to the mikvah.
Yeah. I don't know. I think about
And the
that.
whole point is to get rid of the tum'ah, right? So
Right. Yeah, but they found the parochet in Rome in the archives of Rome, the Gemara says, and they found the blood on it. That's the Gemara tells us that. Yeah, I don't remember where, but I remember the Gemara. It's on Amud Aleph.
You don't remember where in Rome?
No, I don't remember which Gemara. I remember, I see the Gemara in my eyes. I just don't remember the name of the tractate or the page. But I
But
see
they found blood in,
the Talmud says that a rabbi visited Rome and he saw the blood on the curtain. So I'm saying that they found the bloody curtain, which the Kohen Gadol used to sprinkle with. Okay, we just read that. Even though they are tamei, the Shekhinah is with them. And there's not allowed to be any person in the Omoed when he comes to atone in the holy place until he leaves. There can be no man in the Omoed when he comes to atone until he departs. It should be an atonement for him and for all of Israel. Bad kol kahal Yisrael. So this is the prohibition that when the Kohen serves, it can only be one person in there at a time. Why do you think that is? It's a very unusual prohibition. If anybody, that's one mitzvah so far that's one commandment I have not yet violated. I've not entered into the sanctuary when the Kohen was serving, worshiping.
maybe that it's in the context of Nadav and Avihu that they did together.
That they broke in, or they entered in when they weren't supposed to. I don't know.
You can concentrate better if you're on yourself, if you're on your own. If there's other people there, they might distract you, right? Like,
well, he's expiating the sins for the whole people of Israel, right?
Yeah, but this is a general prohibition. Only one Kohen is allowed to be in there at a time when he's serving.
Is there an intensity to that one the individual's relationship with Hashem? He's in there without anybody else around. There's no other. It's only that there's that the I thou relationship, right? It's just him and God.
Yeah, I guess.
No evil thoughts can come if you have another person working with you and it doesn't work out right. So you sort of like have to keep your.
When you have another person, it's a very interesting approach. When there's another person there, you might have some negative thoughts. Yeah, like when there's another person,
You can only blame yourself.
people ruin everything. So when you have two people there, yeah, it's just the reality. People ruin everything. So when you have two people there, all of a sudden, it's not just about we're sending our best representative to God. And then when there's two people there, there's going to be friction, jealousy. Who's going to be the one to do it? The Talmud does tell us a story of two Kohanim rushing to do a service, and one of them rushed out and stabbed the other one because he wanted to do the service more than him.
But that was outside.
It was,
That was Mizbeach Allah.
yeah, I'm saying that was rushing to have the right to go inside. So they rushed to have the
When
right.
Eli and Chana were together, Eli should have left according to this explanation.
Well, I don't think she wasn't in the actual temple because she wouldn't have been allowed to go into that. So she was at the place where women were allowed to go, and there you can have more than one person. It's just in the sanctuary itself, you can only have one. But yeah, it's okay. Verse 18. And then after he sprinkles it on the curtain, he goes out to the altar that is before God. Now, which altar is this? We'll see what Rashi says. And he does an atonement on it. And then what he does is he now mixes the blood of the bull and the blood of the goat together, and he puts it on the horns of this altar around. So now he's going out to the altar, which is in the sanctuary, which we're going to call the golden altar, where they burn the incense usually. And normally we never put blood on it, but this is the blood on Yom Kippur. It's one of the rare times we put blood on it. And by this blood is the mixing of the bull and the goat, meaning the Kohen sacrifice and the people's sacrifice for sin. Rashi says, this is the golden altar, which is inside the sanctuary. That's in front of God in the sanctuary, means in front of the Holy of Holies. Why does it say and he goes out? Because he sprinkled on the curtain. And then he stood from the altar inward, the Hizah, and he sprinkled. When he sprinkles on the altar, he has to start on the other side of the altar, closer to the exit, which is the northeastern side. And he does an atonement. So how does he do this atonement? He mixes the blood of the bull and the goat. Why does he have to mix the blood of the bull and the goat? What's the symbolism there? Rashi says, Rashi doesn't say anything. Verse 19. When he sprinkles upon it from the blood on his finger, Sheva Pamim. He sprinkles 7 times. Rashi says, after he put it al karnosov, after he put on the horns, he says, Maza Sheva Zos al Gago. He does 7 times on the roof. So he does it on each of the 4 corners. That's 36, the total of 36, plus 7 times on the roof of the golden altar, which now brings us to 43 times, 43 sprinklings. V'tiaro, and it serves as a purification. Mima shavar, v'kidsho atiravo. He purifies it from the past and for the future. V'chilami kaperas hakodesh. And then he completes atoning in the sanctuary. He completes the atonement for the sanctuary and the Ol Moed and the altar. And then he brings the living goat. They bring close. Normally, Vikriv means you bring as a sacrifice. Here it does. Here it means that he brings close to him. They bring close to him. He brings close to him the goat that was still alive. What are we going to do with this goat? This is called the goat for. Excellent. The goat for Azazel. Excellent answer. And what are we going to do with it? Well, we're going to
Well,
send it.
to the wilderness.
You send it into the wilderness. But first, v'samach Aaron shtei yadav. Aaron places his two hands. Oh, John, we're gonna have to have a very serious, intense conversation afterwards. Very serious, intense conversation about our party Wednesday afternoon, which we're gonna do in honor of Yom Ha'atzmaut.
Yeah, we still believe in that. It's gonna be very, very serious.
Listen,
Budget.
This
Yeah.
is the first place in the Torah where the scapegoat.
this is
comes
the
up.
only place for this.
Only place, okay.
The only place where we have the scapegoat, the goat to Azazel. Let's see what it says. V'samach Aaron shtei yadav. Aaron will place with two hands. Al rosh ha'sa'ir, on the head of the goat, hachai, which was alive. V'sva'da alav is called avonos b'nei Israel, and he atones for it for all the sins of Israel. There's kol pesheim, all their intentional sins, kol chatosam, for all their sins. V'nasan otam al rosh ha'sa'ir, he places their sins on the head of the goat. V'shilach bi'ad ishiti amidbar, and he sends it off into the wilderness with the ishiti, with the designated man. Why is he called an ishiti? Hamuchan lokach miyom etmol. This was the man who was designated for this task from yesterday. V'nasa ha'se'ir alav eskol avonosam el eretz gezerah, and the goat carries upon it all of their sins to the eretz gezerah, to the land that is uninhabited. V'shilachat ha'se'ir b'midbar. They send the goat off to the wilderness. In the Torah, it never says to throw this goat off a cliff. Aaron el Omoed, and Aaron comes to the Omoed after he does this. Ufashad es b'gdei abad asher lavash, and he removes his linen garments which he was wearing. Bevo'o el kodesh, when he comes to the sanctuary, when he v'nicham sham, Aaron should leave his garments there. You can't reuse these garments. You have to take them off. Because now he's going to have to do not the service just for Yom Kippur, but the service for every day. For that, he needs his golden special garments. But Rashi says, our rabbis taught, that the Torah is written out of order. They explain the Masechet Yoma, and they say, "Kol parsha kula nemra al seder chutz mi biyazu." With the exception of this time, he comes into the sanctuary, which is actually after he's done his daily olah and the olah of the people, with big days of, and the metovu umikadesh uposhan v'ovesh big day lavan. And then he comes to the Omoed. Well, why does he have to go back into the sanctuary now? We're only to do one thing, two things. He has to take out the ladle, which was back in the Holy of Holies, and the fire pan, that he had brought. He has to come back in to take out the spoon. And he also has to come back in to take out the fire pan. To take out the fire pan. That he brought the Ketores in. He brought the Ketores in this fire pan into the Holy of Holies. Upashat it's big day abad. And then he removes his linen garments. After he went out, took them out. Big days off. He wears the golden garments for the afternoon offering. So Rashi is going to tell us now the order of the service that day. Number one, this is what he does. Talmid Shel Shachar brings a daily offering. The big days off. He wears the golden garments because that's the regular daily offering. Then he does avodas parvas ha'ir apnimim. Then he does the service with the bull and the goat inside the Holy of Holies. Victorious Shamachta b'Big Day Lavan, and the incense on the fire pan in the white garments. Then he does the ram, his own ram, and the ram of the people. And some of the musaf offerings that day, big days of with gold. With golden garments. And then he does the big day 11. So he wears really the white garments for 2 times, basically to bring the bull and the goat and pour the incense on the coals, and then to go back in and get the incense and to get the pan for the incense. He didn't take it out the first time. And the rest of the daily offerings take place in its golden garments. And then Rashi tells us how this lines up with the order of the verses. And that's what he says. The Seder Mikros, if he Seder Avodos Kacha. And the way we would read the verses is first he sends the goat to the wilderness, then he washes it in water, then he goes out and brings his offering, then he brings the fat of the sin offering. Okay. B'nicham sham. Oh, this is a very important point. The garments that he wore that year, he's not allowed to reuse these garments the next year. That's a very profound point.
Next year?
He can't use them again. The garments he wore for that Yom Kippur, he can't wear again. Why do you think? What do you think? Well, you look like you have an answer, Seth.
I mean, only the one that you would think that it's just full of,
Yes.
the whole, it's all tamei, that you just have to get rid of it. It's everybody's availance.
Okay, I was thinking of a different answer. Yours is very nice. I was
I
thinking,
was put on the spot.
no. I'm just saying, no. Those are the best answers when you put on the spot. I was thinking a different answer. I was thinking that we have this human nature. We always want to look back and use what was so good last year. Last time we had a spiritual experience. Let's try to recreate that. But it doesn't work. It doesn't work. You can't always recreate the same experience. You shouldn't necessarily always try to. Sometimes it's good to recreate the same experience, the same formula. But sometimes that was last year's garments. Get a new suit for this year. Sometimes people tell me, well, no, I'm wearing the talus that my grandfather wore. And the talus is one of those, I'm not trying to, God forbid, criticize anyone. It's like a scarf, like the taluses they sometimes have in shuls for people who don't really have a talus. They're like these little thin taluses. I'm no, you're not wearing, it's nice to wear something from your grandfather, but you're not wearing your grandfather's underwear. Get something new for yourself also. You know what I'm saying? Although one of the boys who was here this Shabbos, he said he has the Berdichever's talus. He says direct descendant of the Berdichever. The Berdichever gave him his father as the Berdichever's talus. And that's got to be worth priceless. All right, let's
So
pray.
no more matzah soup next year?
You know what?
One more comment, Rabbi.
I wear the matzah suit a lot less.